This one's for my notes, and I'll do something on this in a bit, but I want to do something based around actually laying down the facts of how the animosity came about between me and Evil, and me and Ricardo, because they've intertwined them as a together thing when they are two very separate things, separated in time and space. As with Ron as well, they've jumped it up. Ricardo very quickly hid behind those guys, wrapped it all together and tied it all together as one thing, like I've somehow fallen out with those guys, they have to offer the olive branch to me because I've kicked off at them. It's like, and I'm this obsessive person, but it was a complete two very different situations that was already going on, and then Ricardo utilised. Then they've joined it together, and Ricardo is now trying to push it like he was there at the beginning, and they just need to get me out because I'm just this awful canker that's somehow just starting trouble with those guys. When were we not discussing the fact that this all began out of a lie? It all began out of a lie that he has admitted. And he admitted it. He admitted manipulating me. I said, okay. And then he did it again. It's just ridiculous. It just is ridiculous. So it's like, just because I'm like morally going along at the moment, and I've only got time to do certain bits every now and again, so I'm missing out this bit, but he's really building on this. And this all started out of like two incidences. So there was the thing that I'm going to go into, which is regarding me and Evil. That started really showing itself. Good Lord. When I said the thing about Doshin, and then the thing about Albert, which we discussed, and I'll look back on the crunch on that episode and see if there's anything in that. But that came out because he thought I was going, because he just gave me the cold shoulder and was just really weird and cultish in the Discord and being really weird with everybody. It was always weird in there. There was like I said about the railway sleeper being chucked on creative stuff. It really was. It was like there's something would get going, people would start working together, and then Evil would come up and he would just put the fucking brakes on it every single time, or he'd really own it and then be promoting it, but it'd be like, oh, you could have never done anything if it wasn't for me doing this big promotion and pushing it and bringing everyone here. And it was like we probably would turn up really late or something, but then he'd just take ownership of it all, and it just had a very stilted effect on any creativity that went on. But it was fine, everyone just kind of worked around it. But those were the moods that you saw that I've mentioned before about the good days and bad days of Evil when it came to the Discord, and whether he was going to let the light shine on someone or put the dark cloud on them. And these are his mates. It was whether he was jealous. I think it just came down to pure envy, and I don't think it's any real envy that he was really envious of that particular situation. I think it's just moving pictures on a screen to him, and it could just be the same thing that happened 5, 6, 7 years ago with some other people, or even just a thing in his mind, and it's just envy. It's just this like childish envy. Then he just like fires him up, and you just saw it going up and down all the time, and it affecting it. And I just watch him, seeing it. None of it's. There's occasional times when I thought that sometimes he was like genuinely enjoying himself, but a lot of the time it's just there's always something. There's always a reason for it when you look at it. Well, maybe it's just me, but there generally is. Apart from when he's just there is times, and that's the thing about Evil, there are times when he is just enjoying himself. And I was still mates with him even with kicking off. So even when Ricardo would still, so I'm flash forwarding because I'm just making a very short one, but I'm flash forwarding now to all the way now to the crunch when me and Evil had our chat, and we were fine after that, because it was yet another time when all it took was one of those guys to reach out to me and stop slagging me off. And even then I was still like, I was going to swallow my pride and just be like, okay then, this is fine, you're my mates, we'll sort it out. I know it was always going to be a hard road with you guys, but I didn't bank on the invested potential fucking shit of Ricardo and possibly Tommy, I think. and it was just not so much Tommy, but massively Ricardo. And it's just like every single time he has put the fucking dampener on it. So all of that yesterday, just in case anybody's of any doubt, which is, I was just kind of assuming that no one was, but I was just like, oh shit, yeah, I just want to make it clear that I'm looking at that from the standpoint of someone who has not only, I've got a playlist on my channel with all my old videos that date all the way back of me trying to sort it out with Ricardo because of his weird communication style and how he was always trying to start shit with me, and I was always trying to just be alright with him and trying to make it alright for me and the Herbies at the time to be alright with him, and that's all in there. And then we had, like I say, the most recent one with Evil Way was alright, and then it all got pushed, the pressure got put on by Ricardo, and all of a sudden they were just slagging me off again and just having a go. Bearing in mind I didn't even react, I was just shut down, and I just ended up going to my friend's stream, which apparently was the worst thing in the world as well, and worthy of more shit all the time. Every time I spoke to anyone, every time I went on any chat, and just really wanting to just shut me down and push me out as if I'd done this terrible thing. Bearing in mind that Ricardo supports Darius, who has Jared Genesis at his changing table. So that's what I mean about precedence as well. This is absolutely crazy, and I just wanted to I know it's over egging the pudding, but just out there. And like I said before, I know I'm going back again a little bit Quentin Tarantino style, so we had that one. Then the most recent one was Ron, when we were at the Crunch, probably, was it the last Crunch or the one after, or the one before it, sorry. And that was when he came on the panel when Slotham was there, and Slotham sorted it out with me and Ron, and we were fine. And then one day he just decided he wasn't anymore. So I just think this whole twisting it up and having it upside down from the very start of the foundation, is probably not the most, I know it's a pain in the arse to have to reiterate it, but I just wanted to make that clear, and it's, it's evidenced all the way along. When I can be asked, but I can always link them in my community post. There is a playlist which has got plenty of dates on that. There are just no words with it. There are just no words. But it's so interesting how that's what it is, I think, is trying to really just bank on the fact that he can just push that one through, and then if he does that, then everyone just thinks, oh yeah, well, if she just apologised to Ricardo, it'd all be alright, or if she just accepted his olive branch, it'd all be alright. And it's like, well, no, because this has been a concerted effort and a targeted campaign that went on, was sorted out between me and my friends. This guy moved in on me and my mates and has just worked on him. And it's like, no one's perfect, and my mates are dickheads, and they have acted like absolute dickheads. And so that's just shown people for who they are for me, so that's just part of the journey. But be in no fucking doubt what happened here and how this weasel got in through me and Dorshin together, because I'm a fucking idiot. But I was glad, because I do think that Evil and Ricardo hit it off, because they're both fucking dickheads, and that in itself is fucking cool in its own way. But like, did it have to be like this? This is the thing, it's like, he was always, this is where the woman hating shit comes in, because like, why did he have to try and get me out? Why was that? And there was like the voice and the animosity and all that shit that was there from the start with him. He was like a fucking snake in the grass, and now I look back, it was obvious he was just using me to get in there. But why this concerted effort, and then he's just going in for the kill now? It's like that I think has changed into a feeding mechanism now, so it's not the same, but there was something driving here. I was a fly in the ointment he wanted rid of. I put it down to the Darius thing, but there was always, he was trying to do something. He was always doing something regarding me. He was always weird in some way with me. Again, it's probably that Russian bird. And yeah, I just wanted to make that one, just put that clarification in there as part of the timeline, because I do see that's how it's some of the simplest of things, isn't it? They get under you with the most simplest of things that you think, oh, well, it's obvious, like, because that was blatant that happened, but that was ages ago. So, like, it's easy to forget, especially when no one's actually, it's just for me, really, just keeping this list of things. But since they are making all these stories up, I may as well put the real thing in. And if I can see past my responses to actually looking at the interesting thing that I want to look at, do you know what I mean? And how, the people watching side of things, there's so much to be had because of being the person in it. I know how many truths there are. I know, well, it's testing in me for my own truths, or what I want to admit to myself, and pushing past that, because I can see in those guys the way that goes if you try and like hide from that in any way. Look at where it takes you. So it's like putting a picture of like a really fat person on your fridge. Like, it's just to stop you eating that cream cake or something. It's a good one, and there's no way I want to be like those guys in any way. I want to be the opposite of it. So hopefully this is just going to like push me to look at the things I don't really want to look at, but it actually isn't that bad when you actually look at them compared to that. And the second instance, the one with Ricardo, was a literal lie that he is expecting everybody to just forget. And that is interesting because it happened entirely in the public, and he just fronted it out. There's a handful of people who remember it, and they've all bastardised him. Red Bull was there, Vic was Vic there, I'm not sure, I think Alter Count was there. There was some people who could see who were there, and they've just been like made into absolute monsters and bastards by these guys just for existing. There's been no reason given. There was a time, anyway, I'll not go into that one, but the secondary thing was this particular time, what had happened is, this is when Ricardo had seen that there was this is pre Captain N as well, Ricardo had seen that there was something not right with us because of his predatory nature, I think. And so what had happened is I'd gone away on holiday around April time when I went to see the trains, and it was around the Candice thing, and for somehow Ricardo managed to get evil at that time, because maybe that was around the time when I'd said about Doshin. Maybe that was it, and the timing was just so unbelievable, and I should have thought, because it's not like we didn't have warning. But yeah, sorry about the noise, by the way. That's like they're having a party. This is like, I think 3 doors up as well. That's about 3 doors up, that. So yeah, I was on holiday and we'd had a discussion about Doshin. It hadn't been right for a long time. Like I said, the cold shoulder, the railway sleepers. I was making my moves. I was wanting to make connections with Lewis and people like that, and doing other things, and Evil tried to fuck with that, and we talked about that after the crunch, right? Anyway, that was a later date. That didn't even happen then. It happened before then, and Evil he just decided one day, out of the blue, even though we'd apparently sorted it out, me and him, regarding the Doshin stuff, because I took him at his word that we could have had open and honest conversations, and it was all right at first, and then he carried on. I think he ignored me, and he just carried on going, and more information came to me, and he was just ignoring me, and I got pissed off, and I was just like, I think I said something along the lines of, I can't believe, because this was the start of it, because it was, the main thing was that he'd just lied about it, and how I remember how that happened. I remember us sort of getting together, and I remember Evie going, and I remember her going over to Albert and Dean and everyone, and kind of not being on their side, but that was where she hung around. She didn't come over to Evil's, but she was all right with Evil, and he never mentioned anything. And I just thought about what that would have felt, what that would have been like. And at the time, it came up in my head, and it was like, what if? But they both said nothing. Doshin said nothing. It was all amicable, but we never saw Evie again. I didn't, not much anyway. And so afterwards I thought about that, and I was like, oh my god. And I always thought, fucking hell, it was shit that Dorshing pushed Evie out of the community, and that's what I always thought it was. And then it turns out it was something else, possibly, that we just never discussed. But on top of it, how much of a campaign it showed me. He'd put like a massive melon twisting campaign on Dorshing from day one, and I was just like mind blown by it when I actually thought about it, and how he'd gaslit this guy and how he had really wrapped him up. So he had no voice at all in the community at all in those days, because Evil controlled it all. And that's again another part about the railway sleeper thing, and Evil, the ups and downs and the yes and no and the carrot and the stick from Evil in the cultish Discord, because he had to be the centre of attention. That's what it was. So it was like you had the two black holes, and as long as they were funneling either out of Evil and he was creating it, or they were funneling towards Evil, then it's cool. As long as Dean and everyone they used to be like, oh, just don't look, and they'd be like, oh, don't feed the trolls and stuff. But I started realising very quickly that they were cherry picking, whether it was subconscious or otherwise. They were massively cherry picking, and it was always directing all this attention at Evil, but I used to get a lot of it on my shoulders as a result. And so I used to see that at first as, fucking hell, I need to sort out this liability, because I'm just trying to starve them and trying to do shit strategically, and he's just always fucking it up for me one way or another. He's always putting the railway sleeper on and stopping anything positive from happening. So I had to try to sort it out with him, and we were trying to sort all that out. But then I went on holiday, and lo and behold, we were fine. And I heard on the grapevine from people outside of the Herbies that for like 2 or 3 nights, Evil and Ricardo had been slagging me off big time. And I ignored it at first, the first one. I ignored it, pretended it didn't happen. I was on holiday. The second one, when I was told, and my friend was like, do you want to watch these? Are you going to watch them? I was like, I don't want to watch that, to be honest. That's a bit out of the blue. Don't know if none of us were friends with Ricardo at the time. He'd fucked everybody off of one of his many times when he'd fucked off the Herbies and done all his fucking crazy shit. And he was again on his arse, no one wanting to listen to any of his boring, robotic, fucking repetitive answer phone bullshit from fucking 4 months ago. Fucking hell. He had one joke and then he just keeps going with it over and over and over again. Fucking hell. So, yeah, one of his many times he'd fucked us all off. So I was on holiday, but he went and he made his peace with Evil by eating me, see? And there we start the precedent going. Then we had the Candice shit, and Evil just, again, he did the fucking children thing on Evil with the Candice thing. It was like, you've got to subscribe to me, you've got to join up with me, this is it, this bitch is this. And I mean, I will go over that another time, but he got Evil to step inside his fucking reality at that point, and Evil had to side with him, and that was it. He had to double down then, and then he had to just defend himself. I actually helped Evil out of a sticky situation then, because he'd fucked himself up by doing that. He'd gone a bit too far by supporting Ricardo so openly during a time when, you know, the Snakes were having a bit of a win, and he went against it really. And I tried to sort of ease that one back, and he took that opportunity and he used me for that. And then we were fine for a bit, and then he just started it up again and just started going and bitching about it. But he didn't do it for no, we were all right then, I think. After that, after we came on the crunch a different time. But then Ricardo, I'm not sure, I think he might have just gone back to slagging me off. I'm not sure on that one. Yeah, they went straight back to slagging me off, or we were kind of warily all right. Then the Captain N stuff came up and made things easier for Ricardo to get involved with. Plus, he is a massive troublemaking, crazy psycho, this guy. My God. Oh, I'm sorry if I have inadvertently offended anybody. Oh, dear me. I've seen him in he's like, with the alts, it's like Dorshing, but just like so creepy. so creepy, where they're just, oh mate, it's just another world of symptom, just simping on multiple fucking accounts in one chat just to try and big someone up so you can sort of control them and have them as a friend or a pet, because no one else will have you any other way. You have to do it like that. Good gravy. But he came in, and then after I came back off holiday, I actually messaged Evil and was like, is this true? Have you been doing this? And he was quite dismissive of it, and it's a joke and all that, just like slagging me off completely out of the blue. Remember, bearing in mind, this guy went absolutely spare when I mentioned to Buttocks that he had a cold, and how much he kicked off about that. I think that's what gave possibly Ricardo the understanding that the things weren't all right with the fucking Herbies, when he was just kicking off like that over like absolute bullshit. And there was like the solidarity that I was trying to just having myself with them was just not coming back. But I was just carrying on anyway. Me and Evil were, again, just warily just getting through it, just doing our thing. It was always going to pop at some point, but Ricardo just came in at some point. It was something to do with Red Bull. Maybe I'd been away for a few days and he thought he could make his move again, and he wanted to come in and make his move on like siphoning up and hoovering up another part of the community. He'd never have a chance, but he's always doing that. He's always trying. And then because he just really thinks that he can just hypnotise people into just forgetting everything that they've done or said beforehand. And it works with a lot of people in this environment, because it's just a bit of fun, innit, after work to watch some bullshit. So he's good at that, at utilising that environment. He's like one of them weeds that can work best on damaged ground. But he underestimates a lot of people in the process, and because there's a lot of good quality brains in here, depending whether they're set to good use or otherwise, and he's met a bit of resistance, which he doesn't like, and that's why he just sits in the privet throwing stones at everyone. But he's got his monkeys to do it now, and that's the interesting thing for me personally, because of how, I've outlined it a bit of just how those threads all join together. And I know that's very self-indulgent to go on about it so much, but I really did just want to just clarify that it was a lot of very different incidences where that happened, and not at all me just kicking off at those guys for no reason, culminating in the big lie. The big lie, which was I was at Red Bulls, and Ricardo did not like that I was at Red Bull. None of them liked it. They didn't like that, because they had obviously got it in there, or Ricardo had got it in his head that he wanted me out. He did not want me having any friends or any connections with anybody at that time. No way. Him and Tommy were at it, trying to separate me and divide and conquer, ready for this, in my opinion. And so he was going to come on the stream. Now, whether he was always going to intend that or not, me and Evil were fine. He comes on. No, Doshin comes on. I've said this before. Doshin comes on. He says to us, oh, Ricardo was going to come, but he said that CP's blocked him. And I was like, oh no, he must have got something mixed up, because that was like a few days ago and I never blocked him anyway. It was all from him. Still not thinking like Ricardo, this is Ricardo spinning a load of shit so fast, and how he does this stuff. And then everyone's just like mulling around a bit stoned, like, you are, oh right, okay, he'll be along in a bit. I'm sure he's got himself confused. And by the time you even thought of that, he's in there building a house on that foundation, as if it's always been the case, and that's just the way it is. Fucking hell. And so, as far as everyone's concerned, then I've blocked him. He's never given me a reason why I would have done that when I was on a stream with him, a panel with him, a few hours before. And that's the one that he admitted it was all a lie, and he manipulated me, because then he set Evil off and said I'd been saying stuff about him. Bearing in mind he'd been on a street, and that's when he came on and said I was a cunt, because I'd started doing my gaming streams. It was only Fibre Twig, but I was having a laugh with it. Again, that envy monster, he just didn't like it. Just did not like anyone stepping on his toes. If you're not being controlled by him, he just don't like it. It's there was that Sam Vaknin where he was talking about the more you get close to the fantasy, the fake self, the more they want rid of you, because you're reminding them of what they see as their, which aren't, but what they see it as their like shortcomings or something, because they're always comparing themselves to everyone else. But then if they get close to the vulnerable side and show that you're vulnerable, which is what they caught you as, then they don't want that, because it reminds you of them when they're like that or something. So something like that was going off, possibly. And it's just like, it was just a little fucking stream, and he just couldn't have it. He just could not have the fact that I was doing something that wasn't just in his realm entirely. It was just a little bit different. There was a few people on there that he didn't particularly care for, and I was forming my own contacts through it, and that's the bit I don't think he liked. And I don't think he put that much thought into it, and we would have got through it. I think we would have it was fine. And you know, we all have these little foibles and stuff. We could have possibly talked about it at a decent level, possibly, if it was even what I'm thinking. That's just how I saw it. But there was definitely something up, and instead of talking about it, he just acted like a fucking idiot. And then obviously Ricardo sees a feeble dog when he knows a feeble one when he sees one, and off he went, picking him and pecking him. And here we are. Ricardo was in there, like Buttocks said the other night, when it was like, oh, she's made all those videos about you, Buttocks, like trying to get in with him. The person he was like using to paint me as a bad person, because I went to talk to Buttocks the other day. I'm as bad as his argument that he's had with someone else for a couple of years, spanning everything, including Jason and everything, because of him getting the face on. Why was it again? Why was the actual reason with Ricardo? There wasn't one actually given. There was only the big lie, and then him saying that, oh yeah, I did do that, and then it's just been this, oh, I'm giving you the olive branch, and then slagging me off or whatever. Oh, I'm giving you the olive branch again. Honestly, I don't even know how many times he's done it. This is what he does, and it's just on a loop. It's just like Lost. It's just on a loop. Never goes anywhere. And he knows the cycle, I think, of getting new people in or something like that. But what it does is it completely stunts all creativity, doesn't it? Because it's just like, it's just clearing the decks. Oh yeah, I forgot. So even we are still having a to and fro. We're still having a discussion. This is me and Evil. We're still in the Discord. We're still mates. We're just having a bit of a to-do, because that's what happens when you've already fought off a set of enemies and you've already been through it, and you're in the what you consider to be the quote-unquote trenches of the Discord, and we've been through something, and we've all talked about how, you know, we've had positive experiences and all this, we've helped each other out and all that, and it's like, we're not going to fall out over some stupid drunken thing that you've obviously kicked off at me for. I wasn't going to fall out with him because he's been slagging me off to Ricardo because he was getting some sort of injury that he had to get out of his system, and he was being manipulated by an idiot, you know. So I didn't go off like that. But what I did forget to mention is that incident with Albert, which we discussed on the crunch, after the crunch, and he admitted it was handled badly, and it was just him trying to fuck things up because he couldn't stand to see the bridges I was trying to make, and I was trying to work things in a certain way about this war that we were having with the PSG, and he just wanted to fuck it up. And so that was the point at which I saw that there was a liability there. So I called him out on that, I think, and I called them all hypocrites in the Discord, which I really genuinely thought was when I set mine up, it was an arena for everybody to have a row if they wanted to, and, you know, coming from the place that we were coming from, and even the things that Evil says and the things that he's saying are a joke now, you know. All of this then is because I called them hypocrites in the Discord then. But this is someone who in literally that last stream has been saying, oh, it's all a joke and you can't take it, it's like Three Stooges. There's something not marrying up there, isn't there? So anyway, we were still having this conversation. Everything was kind of all right. I went on his, and then the Cookgate happened, and maybe I wrote Cook, maybe I didn't write Cook, but there wasn't any evidence for it. I don't even remember if I did, but suffice to say that he definitely got his own back on the back of the big lie, coming in and just saying, "You've said this about me, you've said that about me," and calling me, "If you said this, I can call you a cunt." And he'd literally been in some sort of chat with Ricardo beforehand, and I called him out on it. And then they said that's what had happened as well later on. They just let it slip, and it was like, yeah, because I can see it happening. I saw Ricardo moving in, we were fine, getting you with your ear. Very similar to what happened with kind of like the Chinless Homies, but like a way more, like the Chinless Homies is like a pink fluffy version of it. It's just funny, and it's the first incidence of it where I was fine, Darius was fine, and Volp was fine, and then it was after the event someone else came in and used that, and then someone else came in and used that afterwards, and then someone else came and used the dregs of it, and it's exactly the same. And the people involved, me and Evil, were fine, and then Ricardo had gone in and used it later after the event, then set Evil off. Evil then used the situation because he had some script to play. Then we had Captain N using that situation later on, and obviously Tommy using whatever he was using for whatever wanking off purposes he's using it for. So then, yeah, he came on my mind and just called me all sorts of things. He called me a cunt and all that to my face, and I just laughed about it. I was like, all right, mate, it's fine, you know, whatever, and just took it as a joke, because it was so funny, because he was like, yeah, just keep laughing and singing, like really, like, just keep laughing and singing, and I'm like, yeah, all right, I will, don't mind if I do. And so like that was just hilarious, because I thought we'd all just be able to have a laugh about it afterwards, but it was just a bit drunk and whatever. I didn't count on the privet and the melon twisting, I just didn't, and that's just on me. I just didn't even think about it, because I'd already challenged, I think, Ricardo at that point, because I was just like, I can see this liability in Evil, we've got two fucking black holes, I'm gonna go for the little one, which I was saying was the little one, and he ain't no little one, but he isn't, isn't he? He's like the fucking singularity. So there's that, but it had to come out at some point. So there's me just setting it all off, I suppose, because we had the Candice thing timing, which was, I didn't know, but kind of should have worked it out. Then I had the thing that was going off with Evil. Then I had Ricardo, and then we had fucking Captain N and Paste all at the same time, while I've still got a couple of obsessives in the chat who are just so unbelievably obsessive that all of a sudden were encouraged to be in their chat all the time, from being pretty much ostracised for being just a horrible, spamming, nasty old grandma that just brings everyone down. And he's now like the mascot. So I had that as well. And he is just insidious and a psycho. And anyone who questions me saying I can smell him, it just comes through. Just look at him. He's the biggest one. He's definitely the biggest one. Oh man, I can't believe no one else can see that. I really can't. Anyway, I've lost my train of thought, but hopefully I've got everything down.